Hi all, so welcome to this channel, and in this video session I'll discuss AS400 interview questions and answers part 15. So let's just start the question one by one and we'll discuss the answers of all these questions. So first question is, what is LPAR? So LPAR is logical partitioning. That's a feature introduced by IBM in IBMI, and that's basically provides the way to run multiple OS on a same IBMI system unit. So on a same machine we can run multiple OS which never interface with each other. So that's called the logical partitioning. That is what we call the ASP machines whenever we work on them. So the second thing is, what is data queue in AS400? So data queue is queue where we store the free format messages. So basically two programs or two jobs, you can say, or the same program or same job communicate so within the same program, or you can say basically this is used for the asynchronous communication between two jobs. So there could be one job which basically sends some data to the data queue, and another job which receives some data. So there is a benefit of using the data queue here is, let's say your sending job is active right now and it is sending some data to the data queue, and your receiver job is not active. So data queue will hold the data in the data queue till the time that your job won't come in and it receives all the data. So when all the data gets received, the data gets removed from the data queue. So basically so here the main thing is, your receiver job never have to be run at the same time. uh, may never have to be, you can say. It can run on the same time or it may not have to run at the same time. It can even come later or receive the data. So this is the benefit. This is the fastest way of communication as compared to the data areas or physical files and other things. And yeah, that's all about the data queue here. And next question is, what is file information data structure in AS400? So file information data structure is a data structure which is associated with a file which is declared in the FS specs in RPG. So we can declare as many as files in the RPG programs. We can declare those number of INFDS. So basically it gives me the file exceptions or errors, or it gives me the feedback information from the file as well. So that's what the purpose of file information data structure is. So next question is, what is program status data structure in ASP.NET? So it can be only one per module. So it is basically gives the program errors or exception information to us. Let's say divide by 0, error index out of bound, invalid date or time, and all other things, all other issues, etc. So all these errors or exceptions are can be handled in the PSDS, and we can take appropriate actions on them. So PSDS basically is a subroutine, program status data structure. PSDS, it's not a subroutine, sorry. PSSR is a subroutine which we can write, and we can use the PSDS information in the PSSR, and we can handle the errors. So that's what the thing is. What is access path in AS400? So access path is something which describes how we're going to read the records from a file in our program. So whenever a file gets read, so there is an access path which tells the program that the records are read in this way. So that's what the access path is. So access path tells the program how to read the file, or in which sequence the file records get received. Now, what are the record format field mapping option in copy file? So in copy file we have several options such as star map, star drop, star no check, and star convert source CVT. So in star map, what we do, let's say there are two files, uh, that is from file and to file, and we need to copy the data from file to file. Now in this case, if both the files have different record formats, now what happen if I use the star map? So what are all the file fields which are same in both of them and in the same sequence, they will get copied from file to the to file, and the rest of the file fields which are not there in the from file and available in the to file would get populated with the default values. So whatever the default values are described on the DDS source for those file fields, that will get populated for those fields whenever we copy from file to the to file and using the star map option. Now we can optionally use star map and star drop both. Now star drop is something which tells that whenever we copying the data from file to the to file and having the different record format, so in this case, so whatever the file fields which are same in from file and to file and in the same sequence gets copied, and the other rest one um, would not get copied, they would get left or they would get skipped. So in star map thing, what happened, they would get populated with the default values, but in this star drop they would get left with the null or whatever within or whatever the initial default value would be. So basically they would not get populated. So if they are null capable fields, they would be null. So this is the difference. So if we use both of them, star map and star drop, at a time, so what they will do, they will copy the same fields from file to the to file and skip for the rest of fields, they will not get populated with the default values. Now the third thing would be stano check. So in this case, if both the record formats are uh, different for form file and the to file, if we copy with the stano check, what it does, it copies from left to right of in from to the to file, and it won't check for the data or the fields. Now the fourth thing is star CVT. What it does is basically copies our data from file to the to file, but in this case, what happens, the from file and to file structure would be uh, type would be different. So one is source file, let's say, and the second one is the data file. So if we copy the data from the source file to the data file or from data file to the source file, we use star CVT option. So that's what are the record format field mapping options in copy file command in CL in IBM AS400. So the next question, seventh question is this one is the ninth question. What is the difference between access path and dynamic select? So dynamic select is basically something which is dynamically selected from the file. So this happens at the runtime. So whenever the program actually executes, so we perform the dynamic select from a file, but access path is something which exists before the program gets called. So access path is something when a file gets created, access path gets created for that file. So access path exists before, and it happens before the program gets called. Now why we face this error? So the question is, why we face this error? All record formats for externally described file1 ignored or dropped due to error, file ignored. So let me tell you, whenever we define a file in fspecs, and what happens, we have the same, let's say the case of the flat file. So in flat file we have the same file name, same record format name, and even the same field name as well. So one step further, so just to stop at the file name and record format name, so if we have a file having the same record format name, so we have a normal file as well where we can keep the same file record format name. So in this case, what happened, whenever we define the file in the fspecs and we try to compile the record the program, what happened, it gives this error: all record formats for x in this file ignored or dropped due to error. So in this case we need to rename the record format using the rename keyword in rpg programming in fspecs. So once we rename the record format, we will be able to use or declare the file in the fspecs, and we'll not be getting any such error then in that case. Now the next question is, what is the difference between iter and do statement? So basically, if I talk about these two, so do is something which is a looping statement, and iter is something which is a branching statement. Like you use leave. So what does leave do? Leave basically transfer the control out of undo. So whatever the next statement present after undo will get executed once the leave get executed. So basically the control gets transferred from inside the loop to the outside loop after undo. Now here in do statement, do is something which is a loop. So if I don't use leave and I use iter, so it is a branching statement. So instead of leave I can use iter. So whenever I use iter inside the do loop, what happened, it is basically to skip something. So whatever the process we are doing, we can iter that. So iter is basically what it does, it transfers the control to the undo, not out of undo but to the undo. It means we are reading 10 records and we want that I want to process only the first record and the third record and the third record. So what I'll do, I will not iter on the first and third record, and I'll do iter on the second, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. That is other than 1 and 3. I'll do iter. So once I do iter, what I do, I am on the second record. I'm on the first record. I did not perform the iter. I'm on the second record. I perform the iter. So once I perform the iter, I'll skip the processing of that record. So basically, to skip the processing of some records, we use the iter. So basically, that transfer the control from that point to the undo, not out of undo. So and leave will transfer the record control out of undo and to the next statement after the undo. So that's what the difference is. So that's what the difference between iter and do. Do is a looping statement and iter is a branching statement, and why we use iter inside the do, just to skip the records and transfer the control to the undo block. So that's all questions here in this video. So thank you and have a nice time.